So we have another email question. Does a DUI for another state carry over and become relevant in a new DUI charge here in Florida? James, you want to just take that one away?
Yeah, I'll jump on that one right away. The answer is yes. So in other words, if you had another DUI in another state, they could use it just like it was here in Florida, and that you got the DUI here. And where that really has a lot of bearing is for the basis on mandatory minimums that we have. If you get 2 DUIs within 5 years, there's mandatory 10 days jail, a 5-year license suspension. If you get 3 DUIs within 10 years, there's mandatory jail time, and there's also a 10-year license suspension at that point. So things really increase during that time period, and they could certainly use, if you got one from Georgia or Tennessee, that's where we would see things like that happen.
So it's not that the DUI actually transfers here and it's a charge in Florida, it's a charge in Tennessee or Georgia or whatever, and it remains there, but it affects basically your points here in Florida.
Right, it's going to be used as an enhancement type purpose.
Right, it's going to enhance your points.
You know, there's certain things that they can use a prior to go ahead and enhance. And in Florida, if you have a 4th DUI, then that's a felony at that time. And it's the same as if somebody had a battery charge, a second battery charge could be charged as a felony at that time. So those are some of the things people need to realize.
Your priors can affect what happens to you in another charge later on down the road in terms of how much more basically punishment you can get for that particular charge. So it's important to pay attention to these things and try not to do them again if they're
you know, everybody makes mistakes.
Yes.
Try to minimize your mistakes. Try to keep it to 1 at that point.
And always call a lawyer. always call a lawyer.
And we were talking about different types of criminal type charges, and one of the things and we were talking about being detained and those type of things. There's the part of what an arrest is too, and there's times where you can actually be given a notice to appear or given a ticket. Okay, so a lot of times when you get a ticket, that's a speeding ticket at that time. Okay, and you have to pay a fine. You can do traffic school in order to keep the points off.
Might not require a court appearance at all. Just
correct.
Go to the clerk's office and pay your fine.
And then there are some mandatory court appearances on traffic tickets. In other words, if you're doing 30 over, or if there was an accident and you were cited for careless driving, failure to yield, where there's serious bodily injury or death, those require mandatory court appearances. It does not mean that if you're found guilty of that you're going to face any type of jail time, but there could be license suspensions that are involved based on those type of charges.
Right.
Especially with serious bodily injury and death at that time, there's mandatory.
Well, yes.
at that time, and then the other part too is on the criminal end. When somebody gets that, you'll hear ROR, you'll hear notice to appear, you'll hear in lieu of arrest. Those are the type of terms that you'll hear. That's basically an officer could arrest you if they wanted to on the charge, but instead they would give you that notice to come to court. And some people don't completely take that as serious as they should, realizing just because they weren't arrested that it is a criminal charge, and that they need to treat it that way.
So do you have people coming to you and saying, but I wasn't arrested? I didn't go to jail. Why? How come I'm being, put in jail now, or for not showing up?
Right. Because what'll happen is they won't show up, or we get a lot of folks that come on vacation. They'll get back home, they forget about it, and then they're trying to figure that out later on, and a judge has already most likely issued a warrant at that time.
Back in the day when we had spring break in full effect here in Panama City, the way it used to be, I don't know how many folks remember, but there were just hundreds of kids that were getting arrested every day, and I can't tell you how many of them would come back the next year and get arrested again, and they never dealt with their charge from the year before either. It's like, man, you just need to stop coming to Panama City. You need to stop coming to the beach for your party.
No, it's no different than I had somebody that's had 4 or 5 theft charges. And I go, you're gonna have to find a new profession because you're not very good at this.
You're very bad at this.
You're not very good. I go, because every time you're doing it, it seems like you're getting caught at that time.
Yes, that's seemed like the way it felt for these kids on spring break too.